all the way to Winchester. Republican Congresswoman Barbara Comstock is the incumbent. She's seeking her second term. Political newcomer Luann Bennett, the Democrat, is hoping to unseat her. We sent multiple invitations to the campaigns asking that they send someone to represent their candidate. The Bennett camp sent Susan Swecker. She is the head of the Virginia Democratic Party. Good to see you. Welcome. Thanks very much for coming in.
It's nice to be with you this morning. I see the empty chair here, and I'm wondering if you borrowed it from Clint Eastwood.
Well, that was a stool, this is a chair, but that was what it was. The Comstock camp ignored our requests to provide a surrogate, so you do, as you point out, you have an empty chair alongside, but it is good to have you here. This is a big race, so let's get right into it. Frame the Comstock-Bennett race for us, if you would.
This is one that we feel very strongly that we can take. The Virginia 10 is a changing landscape. Hillary Clinton is running 15 points ahead of Donald Trump in that district. Luann Bennett is someone who has a history of creating jobs. She raised her kids as a single mom when her first husband passed away devastatingly with leukemia. She kept the family business going, never missed a payroll. And I think also just it's important to know the changing landscape of the 10th district. It's full of federal employees, people who have moved here from other countries, hardworking immigrants, minorities, and one that has in the last years, Mark Herring, Loudoun's own, was elected our Attorney General. Ralph Northam, our Lieutenant Governor, has carried it. Tim Kaine has carried it. So with the, a little bit of that headwind at our back, we feel good about it.
We've had the opportunity to talk with candidate Luann Bennett. I'm fairly certain we'll have an opportunity between now and Election Day to discuss the issues with her again and have her talk about the issues. How does she strike you in terms of her philosophy? Is she a centrist Democrat, new Democrat, super progressive? Where does she fall in your view?
Yeah, I've gotten to know her over this last year or so and have been so impressed with her. I think she's a common sense Democrat and someone who will work with anybody to fix the problems of infrastructure and transportation and education for Virginia and America's families. That's the approach I have seen her and listened to her and know that she has taken in, again, running a successful business, serving on the Virginia's Commission for Climate Change, serving on the Virginia Healthcare Foundation.
Talk about the challenges of running as a political newcomer, someone who doesn't have a famous name. I don't think the name Luann Bennett yet registers with it's not the advantages of incumbency, certainly. Can you talk about just the challenge of being an outsider, new, running against someone who's been in elective office at the federal level and as state delegate?
Correct, and the thing that she has to offer, there is a challenge to that. There's always a uphill battle when you are taking on an incumbent. But again, I think the changing landscape and what she has to offer is in her positions, in her roles as a successful businesswoman. She has raised money. She has networked. She has done the hard jobs of again being a successful businesswoman, small businesswoman. So she knows when she's elected how to go up there and help gridlock, help get rid of gridlock, help get rid of red tape. There are some things when you're in Congress and you haven't helped move the partisan divide like Barbara Comstock, you've created to the gridlock that is offering up that fresh face that I think is very appealing to the voters, particularly in the 10th district.
What's your sense of the incumbent?
Well, I don't personally know her, but I know that she and Donald Trump are sort of like eHarmony. They're 37 degrees of compatibility and seem to march lockstep in issues, in supporting, in wanting to defund Planned Parenthood, in bashing immigrants, in against a woman's right to choose. You could name any, I could go on and on about that. Yet she refuses to say who she's going to vote for. And I think that, these are the 10th district is composed of a very in-tune constituency to the federal government. You're tied to the federal government. It is incumbent upon, and Barbara Comstock owes her constituency, her voters, the citizens of the 10th District to say, is she going to stand with Donald Trump? Who is she going to vote for? Because her ideology is very much in line with it. So what is she hiding? I think that's a disturbing and sort of she's failing to meet that test when she won't say. I mean, this is you're voting for Commander-in-Chief.
We've invited Delegate Comstock and Congresswoman Comstock to come and do the show. I can't remember how many times. Unfortunately, she's the only local member of the House or Senate in the 13 years that we've had this show on the air not to come and talk about the issues facing the region, facing the country. And her team, and even though we would have this conversation any date they wanted. We were not locked into today. Just please send someone to sit so we wouldn't have an empty chair sitting alongside you to have a good conversation. I mean, this is fine, but you know what I mean? A traditional balanced conversation. It was something we desperately wanted, weren't able to do. What do you make of that?
I think it's very sad and disturbing that someone who wants to continue to serve as a member of Congress doesn't want to face the media, face the citizenry. That's why we do call her No Comment Comstock. I mean, she is forever not commenting or hiding. On the other hand, she had time to send out a demeaning email about Luann Bennett, you know, leaking some time ago. So, you know, I do think that it's, I mean, look, I'm here, at least send a surrogate. I mean, I'm not that scary, right? You know?
Do you think there are votes from Congresswoman Comstock's days in Richmond that she'd rather not talk about until she gets more safely down the road, into a second term, third term? Then she can say, you know, that was then, this is now, let's talk about the challenges, blah, blah, blah.
Well, I'll give you an example. Well, there's two. I'll give you an example of one, though. I mean, is transportation. Why in the world are you, Barbara Comstock, sitting here in the middle of a district that has huge transportation issues, and you were one of 9 delegates that voted against funding the Silver Line? Something that is just critical.
Her own governor's transportation package.
Correct. Absolutely. What were you thinking? Also, why did you stand up and support the transvaginal ultrasound bill? I mean, something that got us national headlines, but it wasn't the kind we wanted from Virginia.
Susan Swecker is head of the Virginia Democratic Party, here representing House Challenger Luann Bennett. For the opportunity declined from the Comstock campaign to send a representative to support her. Thank you for coming in.
Enjoyed it. Thank you for asking me.
Good to see you. We'll step aside. We're back with